pitch to Piazza. Swinging a drive. It's out of here!
The triumph of Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden's careers ultimately led to their tragedy because of their tough childhoods and taking part in the 1980s New York City drug scene.
Remarkable charge into the record books. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The record. Dwight Gooden has set a new Major League record for strikeouts.
Ball is hit deep to right. Home run.
Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry had difficult childhoods.
Yeah, you grew up without a father, right?
Well, yeah, I grew up without a father, and I talk about this, and not to blame him, but it was just, what I had to experience as a young man, 13 years old. Every night, Dad coming home, yelling, raising, a bunch of hoopla in the house. And then he finally came home one night, and my older brother, Michael, was 15 at the time, and he told him, "Won't you just get out of here and leave us alone?" And my dad broke out and pulled out a shotgun, and his first thing out of my mouth, "I'll kill all you guys." And then I looked at my brother Ronnie, and he was just like me. We had been beaten by my dad so much for just nothing, little things, because he was a very angry, abusive alcoholic. And he looked at me, and he went in and grabbed a butcher knife. I went in and grabbed a skillet, and we said to ourselves, this is the only one going to die.
Since Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden became a part of the drug scene, they went from MVP caliber players to suspensions, arrests, and trades. It's very obvious Dwight Gooden's stats went from amazing to horrible due to the drugs. You could see in his first 5 seasons, he had the most wins as 24 and the lowest ERA as 1.53, which is very, very impressive in red. He had one of the best stats as a young pitcher has ever had. He had so much promise until all the drugs happened. In green, you can see his stats after the drugs. His ERA skyrocketed, he got suspended for a whole year, and his wins went way down. Through the stats of Darryl Strawberry, it's easy to tell when he became immersed in the drug scene and how it ruined his career. He played for the Mets for the beginning of his career, from ages 21 through 28. And he had a lot of games. He played a lot of games every year. He played up to 153, 154. He was a very reliable player. He had a lot of hits, too. One year he had 151, and he was a power hitter, so he hit a lot of home runs. He had 39 home runs for 2 years in a row, which is amazing for a power hitter. And he had 36 stolen bases, which showed he was also an amazing player. He also had a pretty good batting average, which is high as 277. Then he became more immersed in the drug scene, and his stats got increasingly lower, so he got traded to the Dodgers, and his games went from a solid 154, 153 to 139 to then drastically 43, 32, 29, 32. His at-bats went from 420, 522 to 156, 100, 92, 87. His hits went from a good 146, 151 to 22 or 24 or 53. His home runs went drastically down, and his stolen bases went drastically down. His batting average got worse, his strikeouts got higher, and he was never the same player.
It's interesting, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that, when you go down to Tampa, you call your sponsor and things like that, and you always have to stay attuned to it. Every day, do you still want it?
Not every day. It's days, like, prime example, I went through the tough depression. Sad as this may sound, but I have to share this because I'm in recovery. I was actually pissed because I couldn't get high, because I know if I do get high, I'm going to kill myself. I don't want my kids to remember me that way. And number 2, you know, if you don't die, you're going to prison. Something bad's going to happen, or you're going to go right back to your addiction, because now you have to deal with what's really going on. And you can't do it, but every day you don't fight it. But it is some days, and I remember talking to Ron Doc. He says, "You get clean time now." And I remember telling him, "I'm coming up on this one. I was coming up on 3 years." I said, "Can you believe that?" I remember I couldn't stay clean one day. He said, "Yeah, that's great." He said, "But always remember, the disease is just right there, just waiting." He said, at that time, I think Ron Doc had 20-some years. He said, "I still have a day here and there," and I couldn't believe that. I'm like, after all this time, he goes, "Yeah, it never leaves." So you just don't know when. Like I said, it could be a song, something, because my thoughts are positive most of the time. Sometimes I get the sick thoughts, and then you still think you're entitled, maybe. But then you gotta say, wait a second, where are these thoughts coming from? But I can't stay in those thoughts too long because I'll react. So as soon as I get the thoughts, I've learned now, let somebody know right away. I mean, it feels weird. It's like, come on, you got to know now. But I have to let somebody know right away because it's that powerful. I mean, it's almost like when you take somebody with cancer, how they have to get chemo. You have no choice or you die. Dealing with disease or drugs, alcohol, if I let somebody know I had a support group and tell them myself right away, eventually I'm going to die.
A little bit later on in your career, and there were a couple of things that maybe no average person could handle. First of all, you had some off-field incidents. You had a history of getting involved with narcotics and drugs and whatever. And then the second
thing, get down to it. You're talking about cocaine addiction. You know, of course. I mean, there's no hidden story. You know, yeah, addiction is very powerful. Drug addiction is very powerful. Drugs have been around sports forever. You know, players have done them forever. You know, I wasn't the first one. Doc Gooden wasn't the first one. You know, there were a lot of other players that did them too. You know, they just, you know, we were high profile, and right. You know, there was more recognition on us because of the fall of who we were, and because we were such great talent at such a young age. And I think that's what Frank Cashin, the general manager, feared about us coming to New York at such a young age. The temptations and the lifestyle would be very difficult to deal with. I mean, not just being a ball player. The average person in New York have a problem dealing with life there. You know, so.
I tell you what, though, that was one, you know, in the book where I struggled with putting down on paper, but I said, if I'm going to come clean, I have to come clean. Missing that parade, which should have been the greatest moment of my baseball career, turned out to be the worst moment of my baseball career. Obviously, I was active in my addiction. I called my dealer from the clubhouse, and after I left the celebration, my goal was to go there, get drugs, meet my teammates at a local bar. Obviously, I never made it. I was in some housing projects in Long Island, partying with some people all night. It was probably 10 people. I might have known 2 of them. Unfortunately, watching the clock just spinning so fast, and then watching the parade actually come on TV while I was still there when the sun came up, that actually sobered me up, and then the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment all came into place. I remember the ride home back to my apartment where I'm just bawling out crazy, you know, knowing that now, how am I going to explain this now that everybody's going to have a problem, how I'm going to deal with this, but definitely one of the low points in my life.
Due to his incredible talent and trying to get clean, Darryl Strawberry helped the Yankees by notching his 300th home run.
Runner holds and the pitch is swung on, sent high and deep to right field. Right center field, going back and down, it's gone. Darryl Strawberry with the 2-run.
Doc Gooden mustered enough of his amazing talent to complete a miraculous no-hitter.
Lifted in the air, in the infield. Derek Jeter waiting, makes the catch. A no-hitter for Dwight Gooden.
Starry, starry night. Paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand